What do you think?
What's up, man?
What's going on? I mean, I'm always right, so you're not really surprised about that, right?
First of all, before we get into the weekend and the day's developments in the association, I like what you're doing here, dog. I like what you got going on here. I'm feeling it.
Hey, if we can't have Michael Smith hairlines, we can at least try to grow some facial hair.
I'm not mad at you. I'm not mad at you. You look experienced. So, in your vast experience, not just in life, but when it comes to the NBA and specifically covering the NBA All-Star Game, and Nat referenced it earlier. Maybe it has something to do with it being in Salt Lake City. Were you underwhelmed? And that's saying something. Were you underwhelmed by the All-Star Game in particular and the weekend in general?
I will borrow a phrase from a friend of mine when she talks about her expectations for men. She says, the bar is the floor. So if the bar is the floor, and I was still underwhelmed
like the ceiling
by
is
the
the roof?
entire weekend. Yeah, the bar, it's just low. There are low expectations. And the players still managed to underwhelm rather. And yeah, because it's Salt Lake City and everything else, yeah, that was not a pleasant place to be. Like a memo to the NBA, maybe All-Star Weekend should only be in New Orleans or warm weather cities, right? But other than that, the stars don't seem incentivized to play hard, to come out. It seems like players are far more impressed with themselves sitting on the sidelines, dressed, dipped in butter and everything else, than they are actually in promoting the game. Like, I'm not to go old man yelling at cloud here.
Far be it from you to do that.
Yeah, but there was a certain level of pride in All-Star Weekend, even just personal pride in going against, the two point guards going against each other. You know what I mean? Two centers. Right. Remember they froze out Shaq in his first couple of All-Star games.
There was a lot of pettiness. Yeah.
Why can't we have competitive pettiness in an All-Star game? And furthermore, why don't the stars feel like not necessarily an obligation, but they're incentivized to perform in the dunk contest? Like, I don't know where that came from. I kind of know where it came from, but these dudes, I was really disappointed. I was very disappointed.
Well, you say you kind of know. What's your hunch?
Yeah, I do too. You go first, Vinny.
I will let Natalie take the floor.
I
Have y'all had this conversation already?
No.
I have a feeling me and Natalie are here on the dunk contest.
Where's it come from?
I mean, I could be wrong, but I think it has to do a lot with LeBron never doing the dunk contest. And a lot of these guys came up watching him,
kind of
right?
following his lead.
Yeah, and like that. So it's like LeBron didn't do it. So, I mean, we're talking like, in the last segment I was saying, Jordan, all these players, Vince Carter, they've done it. But that's not really who they grew up watching. And I think because he never did it and sort of never co-signed it in that way, then it's just trickled over, but it's more extreme. Because before you would have Paul George's doing it.
Which stars are we talking about? But which stars are we talking about? We're talking about Ja and who else? Who else are we saying that we want in it that thinks that they're above it all? Because I just want him healthy. I don't give a damn about the dunk contest. Okay, but didn't Zion Williamson just say he would entertain doing it? Did I misunderstand that?
Zion needs to entertain getting on the floor. You know what I mean?
Well,
like
exactly.
that's what he needs to worry about.
Ant Edwards said he wouldn't.
What do we want to see?
Ant Edwards said he wouldn't.
Okay. All right.
And also, it's not just because before you've had Zach did it, but he did it really before he was a star. But you had Paul George do it before, John Wall do it before. You've had
Kobe did it.
Right.
So all the players that want to say, LeBron didn't do it, but Kobe did it.
But
he wasn't. But I'm saying if you're a star in the NBA and you want to take the position that the dunk contest is beneath you, the way that LeBron seemed to approach it, somebody else may say, but Kobe did it, but Jordan did it. So some of the greatest players of all time have done it. If you want to look at it that way, you can look at it whatever way you want. Conveniently, is what I'm saying.
It's two things. One, these dudes are really sensitive about what's being said on social media. And the Twitter reactions and, imagine if a star got out there and got beat up by Billy Hole out there. You know what I mean? Can you imagine if Ja Morant went out there? And it's good to see your Billy and Billy. and Billy Ho beat you. You know what I mean?
But Vince,
So-
Yes.
I have a question for you, because I've heard you say before it's about, well, part of it is about like they don't want to get embarrassed, and I think that's where you're going. But didn't some of them just embarrass themselves in the three-point contest? Is one more acceptable to embarrass yourself in than the other?
Yeah, I think it's more acceptable to say you missed shots than it is to say you tried something in an exhibition, a creative exhibition, and you happened to miss. I think
Vinny,
AllStar Weekend needs a whole new revamping, or at least a talking to. Like it needs the enema.
A come to Jesus meeting? No, well, I want to hear your solutions. We're going to talk about all the problems we want, but let's get into the solutions. But a couple of things. One, just like Nat said earlier about now LeBron's hurting his hand last night, notwithstanding, we don't see devastating season-altering or career-altering injuries in the All-Star game. So the idea of somebody getting hurt by playing or showing some effort in the All-Star game seems like a straw man. But I'm saying, like, likewise, what star? And Dwight Howard comes to mind. Blake Griffin comes to mind. What star have we seen actually embarrass themselves by taking part in the All-Star game? Because if you're good at dunking, you're probably going to be good at dunking. It's about how much effort and creativity you're going to put forth. Second thing, that word pride keeps coming up. Once upon a time, there was a pride in playing all 82 games. And Vinny, I don't know if you heard it, but like I said to Nat in the last segment, if these dudes are operating under a load management philosophy, what makes us think that anybody in today's game is going to approach the All-Star game with more seriousness than they approach the regular season, which they actually get paid for?
Well, it's a multitude of things. And a friend of mine, Nate Jones, who had Jones on the NBA on Twitter, very, very smart. And Nate said that players are so exhausted by the time Sunday comes that they don't have anything left. Exhausted from all the obligations, not the obligations from the league, but from the sponsors and the shoe companies and everything else. And my response to that would be, your game is supposed to augment those things. It shouldn't be, those sponsors are the number one obligation for you. Like, the better you perform on a Sunday night after the Super Bowl, when there's nothing else going on, you have the world stage for a night. And it doesn't seem like players are incentivized or understand the importance of it. And for me, here's the thing. We always talk about how players of today are standing on the shoulders of giants, right? Standing on the shoulders of previous eras, whether it's player empowerment or All-Star Weekend or salaries or whatever. What are they doing to be the giants for the next generation? Are they taking this as seriously as they should for the guys coming behind them? Or are they just eating off the fruits of what everything else that has been done before them? And I think there's been some level of disconnect. It's load management, it's social media, it's a bunch of different things. And it's also a you can't make me do anything part of it too, that these guys feel like they don't owe anyone anything. And you don't owe anyone anything, but you do owe the game. I do believe you owe the game. You owe the game itself, but they phrase that into like you owe the media, or you owe the public, or you owe the mean tweeters, and they put it all in this big pot of jambalaya and say, I'm going to do what I want, which is not do anything.
Yeah, no, and I don't know it needs to be about owing anybody. You should just want to do it because it's fun. Dame Lillard wanted to add that to his. Dame Lillard ain't had nothing to prove by winning a three-point contest. But he's like, hey, the greatest shooters in our game's history, most of them, if not all of them, have one of these. Now I got this on my resume because Dame gets it. And so that should really be the attitude, is not like an obligation or like, I don't want you to do nothing you don't want to do. But you should want to do it. Like my wife says, I should want to clean up, or I should want to do some of the stuff. Like you should want to do it because it's fun, and because the game, like Vinny on it about that.
His face so perplexed.
but no, like I want you to want to do the dishes. Like why would I want to do dishes? But no,
do I need to put on my love doctor coat and give you some marriage advice?
No, Vinny, I'm 18 years in. I'm good. But I want to. But one of your columns recently, you seem to take exception to the idea, and Kevin Durant spoke to this at All-Star Weekend, that and this is going back to the standing on the shoulders of giants and all the rights and the privileges that their predecessors have fought for. This era of player movement. You don't seem to think it's as good for the game as Kevin Durant, or even for that matter, as I think it is. I think it's great for the game the way Durant talked about. I think it's awesome that players have agency over their careers, and the interest of the game is at an all-time high in large part because of it.
Is the interest in the game at an all-time high, or is there interest in the drama of the game? The game should be centered in terms of the conversation.
Are those not one and the same?
No, they're not. Because sometimes you get so caught up in the conversation, in the drama, in this soap opera, that the game becomes an afterthought. It's supposed to go hand in hand, but it doesn't. And for Kevin Durant, who I found that answer to be really interesting, because he said, you know, all that drama and interest is good for the league. But wasn't it the same Kevin Durant who was so upset about people tweeting at him about his career choices and everything else that he was stressed out about it? And maybe that's why he made some decisions that he made.
Don't worry about Kevin Durant. You're right. Kevin Durant talks out of both sides of his mouth. I think the fans like it. I think, I won't say the game. You're right. I'll distinguish between the game and the drama. Let's call it the product. And deep down in places he don't talk about at parties, let alone at press conferences, Adam Silver likes it. It's like
does
that
he?
drama. Like,
does he?
Yes.
I don't.
Yes.
I don't think he does.
Think he does.
I don't think fans like it either.
I think
fans don't constantly talking about the possibilities of players moving and trade, the trade machine. Everybody got their own damn trade machine. Yes, sir.
Michael Smith. We say this all the time, that Twitter is not the real world, right? And I think a lot of times we confuse the interest in that particular silo for the masses. Mm-hmm. The NBA is trying to catch the NFL in terms of viewership, eyeballs, popularity, and they're not. So you can't say that the people are liking it when it's showing
they're
that.
Not as in they're failing, or they're not as in they won't?
I don't think they're catching the NFL. That I think they had aspirations to. Remember Mark Cuban, you know, pigs get slaughtered and everything else, and they were very aspirational for all that. And the NFL even wanted Adam Silver to come run their league and all of that type of stuff. They had a huge aspiration to catch the NFL. So to say interest that's at an all-time high, show me where. Show beyond Twitter, beyond Instagram, because we say that's not the real world, right? And maybe you're saying, and if you're going to say,
is the bottom line not as big? Is the bottom line not as healthy as it's ever been? Is the game not growing? Does it not continue to drive the culture in ways? Listen, they may not have the revenue that the NFL does. They may not have the ratings that the NFL does. No entity in this country does. No form of entertainment captivates our collective imagination like the NFL. So everybody's chasing the NFL when you talk about eyeballs. But in terms of like the culture, and popular culture, not just the culture, capital T, capital C, but popular culture, the NBA has a stranglehold on that, does it not?
So,
Natalie?
So may I approach the witness like a hostile witness?
Approach the witness like a hostile witness. Go ahead.
So, Michael Smith, you mean to tell me you believe that fans like buying tickets and not knowing if a player is going to play that night?
No, that's different. No, I don't. No, load management. Okay, that's a separate conversation, and that is an issue, which is why I said how could we expect better from the All-Star game. We were talking about player movement.
And I don't think
buying a jersey and not knowing whether that jersey is going to be good in a year.
Yeah,
maybe that's an issue.
Yeah, and I don't. Listen, we love to talk about the drama on NBA Twitter because that's what we do. But at the end of the day. And I love the fact that players have agency too, but I don't think it was anticipated them having agency would mean a player of Kevin Durant's stature would be on his fourth team. There is something to your connection to the fans and a franchise that's missing when you just keep hopping around like that. Look at even the Lakers. And LeBron, if you talk to true Lakers fans, they don't even see him as a Laker great. They don't have that connection to him. Like, they're like, okay, thank you. You got us a chip. But there's something that's lost and missing when you do that. And I think that's a part of fandom, like feeling that connection with your team. Even if you talk to Warriors fans and you ask them their all-time Warriors, Kevin Durant is not second on that list. He's like fourth or fifth, maybe.
Okay, well, okay.
But you give me Kevin Durant, I'll give you Giannis, I'll give you Steph. Yep. I'll give you Dame. And at this rate, your favorite player, Natalie, Jokic. I mean, there are players who have planted their roots in certain organizations and who seem to be lifers. I mean, that could change, of course, in the case of Giannis.
No, you're right. You're right. And you know what's funny? I asked the same question to CJ McCollum, the NBPA president, Saturday, and he brought up those 4 players. But I will say this, only 2 of those guys have championships. Dame and Jokic are not on the level, even though Jokic has the MVPs, of a Steph and of a Giannis, because you don't have the championship bona fides. What gets lost in constant player movement? Mind you, LeBron has played for 4 teams, right? Kevin Durant has played for 4 teams. James Harden has played for a lot of teams.
LeBron for 4? 3. He went to Cleveland twice.
Cleveland twice. Yeah, that's 2 different franchises to me. You left and came back.
Stop it, Vinny. Stop it.
That's two different relationships. My bad. Is that
we
not
ain't
how
the
you
same.
Right.
It's a stretch,
that's
but
fair.
okay.
That's fair. You were saying.
But my larger point is, if a player stays and grows, and I'm not saying players shouldn't keep the foot on the necks of the franchise ownership and management to make sure that they're, putting forth the resources to win, and that if that's not happening and you don't want to be there anymore, okay, leave. But what gets lost in that is, think about this from this standpoint. It's not just Magic and Michael and Larry Bird. It's the cast of characters that were around them that became popular, that became household names, players who weren't not as good as the superstars, but you remember Kevin McHale and Robert Parrish and Scottie Pippen and all of those type of guys, because it was a story that was formed and you could follow the supporting pieces together. And subsequently, here's the thing that people don't realize. When the Lakers and Bulls are bad, they're still on TV because of the equity of those players who came in generations before that made them a brand name, and people still watch. When you now have fans who are fans of players as opposed to franchise players.
I go where they go.
Where does that leave? Where does that leave the franchise? It's supposed to be the player and the franchise marrying each other, not one side having an inordinate amount of power over the other. That's not the covenant that professional sports is supposed to be. Absolutely anything corrupts.
You went biblical. You went covenant. Listen, I long for the halcyon days of the Bulls and the Pistons and the Celtics and those being institutions just as much as anybody else. But, and this point has been made plenty of times. I do want to get to one other player who's been on the move quite a bit before we let you go, Vinny. But I'll just say this last thing. This point has been made quite a few times in this discussion in recent years about player movement. It's like, okay, you want players to stay put. You want them to stay where they at. You want them to grind the hard way. We try to get Damian Lillard out of Portland more than Damian Lillard has tried to get out of Portland, because we define players by rings with a Z. So don't ever have a conversation about another great player. I'm talking about Chris Paul, and talk about what they don't have and then blame that player for chasing it. Same with Kevin Durant. Don't say Kevin Durant jumped on Steph's team and his bandwagon, and then when Kevin Durant is searching for God knows what, I don't know what he's searching for, but just I'm conveniently using him as an example. Don't say, oh, well, Kevin Durant, why you keep team hopping? Just stay with one team. He's trying to get the championship that y'all say would validate him. So, having said that, do want to get to one more player. Both of you. What's up with the Clippers? Speaking of not having a championship, like they needed point guard help. They needed defense and three-point shooting. They're getting Russell Westbrook, who's now on his 5th team, 6th if you count Utah, I believe, but he's about to be bought out from Utah. It's like, why would the Clippers look at what the Lakers just experienced with Russell Westbrook and say, yeah, we want some of that, Natalie?
I have no idea. I don't know what they're thinking, to be honest. Hopefully Vincent knows, because it makes sense from Russ's perspective. He's moved around so much. He's in LA. He gets to stay in LA. That's where he's from. So I do understand that. But I don't see how this is going to help the Clippers. Like, I'm not seeing the fit. I don't get it, honestly.
Well, I was called Vincent for the first time today, and that's only airline attendants and my mama, when she mad at me, called me Vincent. You know what I mean?
It's a sign of respect.
I appreciate it. I'm just playing. No, with Russ, like you said, Michael, they needed discipline and structure and order from that point guard spot. What about Russell Westbrook's style screams out discipline, order, structure, and playoff savvy, right? But you know what it does scream out? It does scream out Paul George having a certain level of influence, having played with Russell Westbrook in Oklahoma City.
This feels more personal than professional.
It's influential, and players see players as their best selves. They don't see players often as the diminished version. You can see Russell Westbrook having a night where he turns back the clock and maybe he has a triple-double and he has an effect on winning, and he thinks that next hit is around the corner. And it might not come to the next album or 2 albums later, but he's still chasing that hit.
Is he starting or coming off the bench on the Clips?
I think he's going to be starting. And to your point, and let me backtrack for a second, Michael Smith, I have zero problem with Kevin Durant actually being where he's at. I had no problem with him leaving to go to Golden State. I really didn't have a problem with him leaving Golden State.
I'm laughing at Natalie, not you, Vinny.
I'm annoyed. I was annoyed with the Kyrie Irving experience. But once he wanted to get off that ride, I think everybody could see he was like, "Oh no, I've seen these movies before. I'm straight."
The ride that he created and built. Listen, I don't have a problem. I don't have a problem with going to one team, but like the constant movement, no one's going to be upset if Dame moves to one team. We're talking about 4 or 5 teams. Come on now, this is getting to be a bit much.
Hey, you could argue the Warriors fans ran Kevin Durant out.
Oh, please. Well, then he should then maybe go see someone about that if we were able to run him out. Silliness.
Maybe a team. What's a bigger trigger for Natalie? What's a bigger trigger for Natalie? Anything related to Kevin Durant or Nikola Jokic being a clear favorite for a 3rd straight MVP? I don't know what pisses her off more.
It's all insanity. It's all insanity.
It's definitely Kevin Durant. It's definitely KD.
Hey, thank you for watching Brother from Another. If you haven't hit that subscribe button, go ahead and do that now. Don't forget you can catch us 3 to 4 weekdays on PeacockTV.com and on Sirius XM Channel 85.